Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely because what I'm about to tell you can change the entire way women see you.
You don't have to be the richest man in the room. You don't have to look like you just stepped out of a magazine. And you certainly don't have to touch a woman to make her want you. In fact, the most powerful turn-on isn't physical, it's psychological. If you can ignite her mind, you'll own her attention, her desire, and her curiosity.
So how do you do it? With words, but not just any words. You speak in a way that makes her feel seen, desired, and challenged all at once. You say things that make her stop and think, who is this man? Here's the secret. You give her certainty and mystery in the same breath. Look her straight in the eye and with calm, unshakable confidence, say something like, I like a woman who knows what she wants, but isn't afraid to be surprised. Picture this. You walk into a room, and before you've even said a single word, people are already aware of your presence. Not because you're the loudest, not because you're throwing your weight around, but because there's something about the way you carry yourself, a calm assurance, an unspoken authority that makes others stop and take notice. That's what true confidence is. It's not the chest-puffing, overcompensating act people mistake for self-assurance. It's the quiet certainty that radiates from you when you know exactly who you are and what you bring to the table. Confidence is the real touch because it connects before the body ever does. A woman can feel it like static in the air and she'll react to it before she even realizes why. Think about it. How many times have you been around someone who didn't have to try to get attention, yet they had it effortlessly? They weren't chasing anyone's approval, and that magnetism drew people to them like gravity. Confidence is the language you speak without moving your lips. But here's where most men get it wrong. They think confidence is built by proving themselves to others. Wrong. Confidence is built by proving things to yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you face something that scares you and push through, every time you set a standard and hold to it, you're stacking bricks in the foundation of your self-belief. Women can spot the difference instantly between a man who pretends to believe in himself and one who's done the work to actually believe it. Pretending is shaky. The real thing is unshakable. Let me ask you this. What's more attractive? A man who brags about what he can do or a man who simply knows he can and lets his actions do the talking? The bragging man is noise. The calm man is music. You don't have to sell her on you if you are you fully and unapologetically. That's the thing most people miss. Confidence isn't about convincing others to think highly of you. It's about holding yourself so high that their opinion can't shake it either way. And here's the hook. Confidence can turn a simple glance into an electric moment. When you're grounded in yourself, eye contact becomes a conversation all its own. You're not looking at her with desperation. You're looking at her with curiosity, maybe even a hint of challenge. She can feel that you're not afraid of silence. You're not rushing to fill every pause. That ability to sit comfortably in stillness is a powerful form of presence, and it's addictive to be around. When you operate from this kind of certainty, everything you say carries more weight. The same words spoken without confidence are just words, but with confidence, they're felt. That's why you see some men say almost nothing, yet they're unforgettable because the way they carry themselves makes every syllable seem deliberate. Think about your own experiences. How often have you been drawn to someone who clearly wasn't trying to impress you, yet you found yourself leaning in? It wasn't because of what they did, it was because of who they were being. Confidence makes you magnetic, not because you're perfect, but because you're comfortable in your imperfections. You've owned them. They no longer own you. And the beautiful thing, confidence compounds. Every moment you step into discomfort, every small win you collect, every boundary you enforce, it all feeds the fire. Over time, you become the man who doesn't need validation because you've already validated yourself. That's when a woman feels something different about you. That's when she's drawn in without you touching her. That's when your presence alone becomes the spark. Imagine being able to walk into a conversation and instantly shift the way a woman feels, not by touching her, not by making any grand gesture, but by the way you use your words. Words are not just sound waves, they're triggers. They can stir emotions, spark curiosity, and make someone's mind race with possibilities. And here's the truth. If you know how to use them, you can make a woman feel something so deep and unexpected that it stays with her long after the conversation ends. Think about it. When was the last time someone said something to you that made you pause, that made you rethink, that made you feel something you couldn't quite explain? That's the effect you want to create. Because when a woman feels something in her mind, her body follows. Desire starts in the head, not the hands. Your voice, your choice of words, and the way you deliver them have the power to make her feel a mix of safety and excitement all at once. Here's the hook. Compliments are forgettable, but experiences are unforgettable. Most men waste their words on predictable lines. You're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're so hot. She's heard it 1,000 times, and every time it loses more impact. But if you say something that makes her visualize, imagine, or anticipate, now you've hooked her. Instead of saying you're pretty, try something that paints a scene in her mind. The way you carry yourself makes it feel like you've already been in every room you walk into, like you own it without even trying. That's not just a compliment, it's an observation that makes her see herself through your eyes, and it lands deeper. The delivery matters just as much as the content. Words said too fast are forgotten. Words said with the right pause, the right drop in tone, and the right timing, those linger. Imagine telling her something bold and then letting silence hang for just a moment. That space after your words is where they settle in her mind. It's like the difference between tossing a pebble in water and dropping a stone. One disappears instantly, the other creates ripples that last. Here's another hook. Use your words to challenge her, not just please her. If all you do is agree with everything she says, she'll file you away as predictable. But if you say something that playfully pushes back or invites her to prove you wrong, you've created tension. For example, if she says she always wins at trivia, you could lean in slightly and say, I'll believe that when I see it. Just don't cry when I win. You've now turned a casual statement into a playful competition, which sparks more connection than flattery ever could. The real power in your words is how they make her imagine the what if. You're not just talking about now, you're planting seeds of future scenarios, possibilities, and emotions. A single sentence like, I have a feeling you're a little more unpredictable than you look, can trigger her to want to prove you right or wrong. Either way, you've engaged her curiosity, and curiosity is the gateway to attraction. Every word you choose is either pulling her closer or pushing her away. Speak with purpose. Speak with the kind of intention that makes her lean forward, not because she didn't hear you, but because she wants to hear more. Most men throw words around carelessly, not realizing they're giving away their power. The right words, delivered at the right moment, are like a spark near gasoline. You only need one to set everything on fire. Picture a moment where a woman is looking at you and she's intrigued, but she can't quite figure you out. She knows you're confident. She knows you're sure of yourself, but there's something else in the air, something she can't pin down, and it's driving her wild. That's the power of mixing certainty with mystery. It's a balance most men never master because they swing too far to one side. Some are overly certain, coming across as arrogant and predictable. Others hide so much of themselves that they become frustrating instead of fascinating. But when you can make her feel secure in who you are while still leaving her wondering what's next, you've hit a level of attraction that goes beyond the surface. Here's the hook. Certainty earns her trust, but mystery keeps her chasing. Certainty says, I know what I want. Mystery says, I might surprise you. It's like giving her a taste of something delicious, then pulling it back just enough so she wants more. If she can predict every word out of your mouth and every move you're going to make, she'll lose interest. But if you give her consistency in your energy and unpredictability in your depth, she'll never stop leaning in. Certainty doesn't mean being rigid or stubborn. It means you move through the world with purpose. You have standards. You know your values. You're not second guessing yourself based on someone else's opinion. Women are deeply attracted to a man who has decided what he wants from life and isn't apologizing for it. But here's where the mystery comes in. You don't reveal the entire map. You let her discover parts of you over time. You drop hints. You let her see just enough to keep her wondering what else you're capable of. Think about it like this. If you walk into a movie theater and the lights come up with the full plot printed on the screen before the film starts, the thrill is gone. But if you see a teaser that grabs your attention without spoiling the ending, you can't stop thinking about what's going to happen next. You want her to feel like every conversation with you is a new scene, with a little more revealed, but always something left hidden. Here's another hook. When you combine certainty and mystery, you make her feel safe enough to be herself, yet excited enough to keep discovering you. That's rare. Most men either make her feel secure but bored or mysterious but unsure if they're trustworthy. Your goal is to be both the man she can rely on and the man she can't completely figure out. Tell her about your values, but not every story from your past. Show her your ambition, but keep a few of your future moves to yourself. Give her just enough to know she's with a man who stands firm, but still keeps life interesting. One way to master this is through how you answer her questions. If she asks about your weekend plans, you could give a plain answer, I'm going to dinner with friends. Or you could layer in a touch of intrigue. I've got a few things lined up, you'll have to wait and see if you're part of them. Now, instead of a closed answer, you've opened a loop in her mind. She's thinking about it, wondering, imagining, and that's exactly where you want her. Certainty with mystery also changes how you use your body language. Stand tall, maintain steady eye contact. Move with intention, that's your certainty. But every now and then, add a small, subtle smirk, a pause before you speak, or a sudden shift in the conversation that leaves her wondering what's coming next. That's your mystery. The two together create a tension she'll crave over and over again. Imagine hearing the exact same sentence spoken in two completely different ways. One rushed, high-pitched, and jittery, the other slow, deep, and deliberate. The words might be identical, but the effect is completely different. That's the power of tone. It's not just what you say that matters, it's how you say it. Tone is the invisible force that turns an ordinary statement into something that lingers in someone's mind for hours. It's the difference between sounding like every other man she's met and sounding like the one she can't forget. Here's the hook tone is attraction in audio form. You can have the perfect words, but if your tone doesn't match your intention, you've lost the effect before it even starts. A rush tone sounds uncertain. A flat tone feels disengaged. But a slow, confident tone, one with controlled pauses and subtle shifts, pulls someone in without them even realizing why. It's like a song that catches you in the first 3 seconds and you just have to hear the rest. Women are wired to pick up on the emotional energy behind your voice. They don't just hear the words, they feel them. If you speak too quickly, it tells her you're nervous or trying too hard. If you drop your pace, lower your tone slightly, and let your words breathe, you project control. You're not in a hurry. You're not desperate. You're choosing your words and she'll want to hear every one. Here's another hook. Silence can be louder than speech when you know how to use it. Most men can't handle silence because they're afraid it'll feel awkward. But if you pause after a statement and hold her gaze, you're not creating awkwardness. You're creating tension. You're giving her a moment to absorb what you just said. That space between your words is where curiosity and attraction build. Think of it like seasoning food too much and you overwhelm the dish, but just enough makes it unforgettable. Tone also changes how your words land emotionally. A teasing comment with a playful tone makes her smile. The same comment with a serious, steady tone might make her lean in, wondering if you're challenging her. You can shift the entire meaning of a sentence just by adjusting your delivery. For example, saying, "Oh, really?" in a flat voice might sound dismissive, but saying it slowly with a raised eyebrow can sound intrigued, even flirtatious. Your tone is also an extension of your emotional state. If you feel calm, grounded, and sure of yourself, it will show in your voice. That's why preparation matters. If you want your tone to carry presence, you can't just fake it in the moment. You have to live in that state. Work on slowing your breathing, controlling your pace, and speaking from your chest, not your throat. A deeper, more resonant voice doesn't come from pushing, it comes from relaxing. And here's the hook that most men miss. Tone makes her feel the way you want her to feel before she even processes your words. If you want her curious, your tone should rise slightly at the end of your statement, like you're inviting her to wonder. If you want her intrigued, keep your tone smooth and steady with a touch of warmth. If you want her excited, let your voice carry energy, but not chaos. Controlled energy is far more magnetic than scattered energy. When you master tone, you can turn even the simplest phrases into something unforgettable. You can say, "I noticed something about you," and have her hooked, not because the sentence itself is groundbreaking, but because the way you said it made it feel like a secret she's dying to know. That's the kind of power tone gives you. It turns language into chemistry. Most men think the way to win a woman over is to constantly shower her with praise. They believe if they tell her she's beautiful enough times, she'll somehow feel more drawn to them. But here's the truth. Compliments can be nice, yet they fade quickly. Curiosity, on the other hand, lingers like a song stuck in her head. If all you do is feed her ego, you're giving her something she's already used to hearing. But if you feed her curiosity, you're giving her something she can't stop thinking about. Here's the hook. Ego fades, curiosity grows. When you make a woman feel curious about you, you've sparked an itch your mind wants to keep scratching. Curiosity makes her replay conversations in her head. It makes her wonder what you meant by something you said. It makes her pay attention to your next move without you having to chase her. If you can create that, you're no longer competing with other men. You've stepped into a category of your own. The way you feed her curiosity is by revealing yourself in layers. Most men put everything on the table too quickly. They overshare, they over-explain, and they remove all the mystery in the first conversation. But when you let her learn about you piece by piece, you turn every interaction into a little discovery. If she feels like there's more to you than what she sees, she'll want to keep exploring. One of the most powerful ways to do this is to make intriguing statements without explaining them fully. Instead of telling her a whole story right away, drop a line that sparks her imagination, then move on. If she asks about it, smile and say, "That's a story for another time." This does two things. It creates anticipation and it shows you're not desperate to spill every detail just to keep her engaged. Here's another hook. Leave her thinking, what did he mean by that? That single question in her mind is more effective than 10 compliments. Compliments close a loop in her mind. He thinks I'm pretty, end of story. Curiosity opens a loop. Why did he say that? What's he like when he's not here? What else don't I know about him? Open loops are addictive because the brain wants to close them, and she'll keep coming back to find out more. Feeding her curiosity also means asking questions she's not used to answering. If all you do is ask about her job, her hobbies, and her weekend plans, you're following the same script as every other man. But if you ask questions that make her pause and think questions about her dreams, her quirks, her what-if scenarios, you're getting her to reveal parts of herself she doesn't usually share. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen in unique ways. The other half of the equation is not giving her constant validation. If you make every response a compliment, she'll start to expect it, and it loses its impact. But if you mix genuine appreciation with playful challenges, she'll be more alert and engaged. If she says something bold, you could respond with, "That's one way to look at it, but I'm not convinced yet." Now, she's not just basking in approval, she's actively trying to earn more of your attention. Curiosity is about creating a rhythm where she gets just enough to stay satisfied, but not enough to feel she's figured you out. That's what keeps her drawn in. When she feels like there's always another layer to you, she won't want to stop peeling it back. That's how you go from being a man who's simply nice to talk to being the man she can't stop wondering about. Most men are waiting for the perfect moment, as if attraction magically appears under the right lighting in the right place with the right timing. But here's the truth. The perfect moment isn't something you find. It's something you create. Every interaction you have with a woman is an opportunity to shift the energy, to take a regular conversation and turn it into something memorable. The men who stand out aren't the ones who sit back and hope for sparks. They're the ones who strike the match themselves. Here's the hook. Opportunity doesn't knock. It waits for you to build the door. If you wait for the stars to align, you'll be watching them for the rest of your life. Women are far more responsive to men who step into the moment with purpose. That doesn't mean being pushy or forcing chemistry. It means taking the lead and setting a tone, creating an atmosphere, and guiding the interaction where you want it to go. Creating the moment starts with intention. You decide before you even open your mouth that this interaction will have a certain energy. If you want it playful, you bring playfulness. If you want it deep, you guide it there with your words and your tone. Most men wander into a conversation without a clear intention, which means the energy gets decided for them. But if you walk in knowing the type of connection you want to build, you're already in control of the frame. Here's another hook. Energy is contagious, and you're the one who sets the temperature. If you come in with hesitant, scattered energy, the conversation will mirror that. If you enter calm, focused, and present, she'll feel it immediately. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to explain it. Your presence says it for you. When you create a moment, you're essentially saying, "I know where we're going, and I'm taking you with me." One of the simplest ways to create a moment is to change the environment. If you're talking in a busy place, lead her to a quieter corner. If you're texting, throw in a voice note with a low, steady tone. If you're at dinner, slow the conversation down, lean in slightly, and drop your voice when you say something important. These small changes shift her focus and make the interaction feel different from the rest of her day. Creating the moment is also about being willing to disrupt the script. Every woman you meet has had the same boring conversations over and over. If you can be the man who flips that, you'll stand out instantly. Instead of asking what she does for work, you could say, all right, forget your job for a second. If you could disappear for a month and go anywhere, where would you go? That single question pulls her out of autopilot and into a space where she feels something new. Another hook, lead doesn't mean control, it means guide. You're not dictating her reactions, but you're steering the interaction in a direction that sparks connection. It might be adding a playful challenge, introducing a light touch of suspense, or revealing just enough vulnerability to make her feel closer to you. The key is you're not letting the moment pass without shaping it. The men who master this skill know that attraction is built in the transitions. It's in how you shift from casual banter to deeper conversation, from a light joke to a meaningful glance, from a friendly tone to something more charged. These transitions don't happen by accident. They happen because you create them. And every time you do, you're showing her she's with a man who doesn't just wait for life to happen. He makes it happen.